I never imagined that things could be this good between me and my ex after divorce, and especially how my kids are benefiting from seeing a good example of an amicable relationship between both of their parents. But it took a very long time to get here, and it's only when I discovered a particular rite of passage that you have to go through that is necessary in order to bring peace back into your life, into your relationship with your ex, and to also help you create the best case scenario for you and your family in this next chapter. For the longest period of time after we decided to separate, and after we finally settled in mediation and officially divorced, I held a lot of resentment against my ex. You know, she took more than half of the assets. I was left financially defeated and in a very difficult spot. And not only that, just the whole magnitude of the whole situation just completely destroyed me mentally. I was in a very dark place for a long period of time, and I blamed all of it on her. Now, I did my best to stay amicable and diplomatic when dealing with her when it came to my kids, especially for school or making any type of arrangements. But for a very long period of time, I held a lot of anger and resentment, and that dictated how I would act towards her. It's very cold and just very straight to the point. And that's fine, but if you're trying to build a life with the mother of your children so that your kids can benefit from having the best case scenario, having that kind of mentality, having that type of angst, anger, and resentment towards your ex is not going to get you anywhere. And it's only when I finally decided to forgive her and myself and accept the current situation that things started to really turn around in my life. And forgiving my ex, this was something that when I first went to counseling, it was something that I discussed with the counselor at the time. And, it wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to do, but as soon as I made the decision to forgive my ex for the whole situation and also forgive myself for putting myself in that situation in the first place, that just lifted a huge weight off of my shoulders, because it's kind of like holding a grudge. If ever you've held a grudge against someone for a long period of time, it's just this heavy burden. You're always looking over your shoulder, checking to see if you're going to see this person that you absolutely hate. Hate's a strong word, but I absolutely detested her at the time. But it was just stressful going out. We live in the same town. We had a lot of mutual friends, or I knew a lot of her friends, and running into her in public, it was something that I tried to avoid at all costs because I was just so freaking mad. But as soon as I forgave her and went through that step for her and myself, that weight was lifted off my shoulders, and I could finally now start looking forward at, what is in front of me. There's this huge opportunity to now move my life forward. And in order to move forward, I also had to accept my current situation. And yeah, let's face it, it sucks. Especially divorce laws in North America, it's heavily tilted on the mom side, on the woman's side. Now, I focused a lot at the beginning on things that were out of my control. The law sucks, but I'm in a shittier position than her. Why do I have to work way harder when she doesn't need to have a job right now? She gets to travel, she gets to get supported, but that doesn't affect the calculation of my payments towards her. I had so much anger towards the system and also towards her, but that's not her fault. The fact that the laws are the way that they are, it's not her fault. So, I just had to really accept the current state and that the laws aren't going to change, and really find the opportunities where I have control and where I can move my life forward. That's where the fitness program came into place, started working on my body, starting to spend more time with myself when I didn't have my kids, but most importantly, spending time with my support group, my family, my friends, and also meeting new people to continue building my tribe. That's all within your control. Saving money where you can, that's within your control. As soon as I accepted the situation and started to focus on what I can control versus what was out of my control, life started to change, and especially the dynamic of the relationship between me and my ex started to change, because I didn't have as much angst before. Do I still get angry? Yes, there are things that will trigger me, especially things that put me in a tough financial spot. I get mad again. But having forgiven her, having chosen to accept the situation and take action to move forward in my life, has really helped me recover from being stuck in those negative cycles. And we're now at a place where today my brother was able to spend time with my kids because my ex is in his city visiting her fiance who lives there, and actually offered time to my brother to spend with my kids, who he only gets to see once or twice a year. Now, that might not sound like much to you, but for me, and especially a lot of men who are in a situation after divorce, like, it's usually pretty bitter. Like, the wife doesn't usually give that opportunity to the man. But the fact that she's also taking steps forward to offer time for my kids to connect with my brother in the same city and not letting our situation affect that, that's huge. And, you know, I'm not best friends with my ex, but we talk amicably. You know, we're both pretty much aligned in the sense that we will do what is necessary in order for our kids to have the best experience growing up with two separated and divorced parents. And so having that alignment and commitment with one another, and not having resentment and anger overshadowing that, makes a huge difference, and it is a huge game changer for both of us in this next chapter of our life. And it's inviting opportunities like this, where I know for a lot of divorced couples, that's not a reality that they can live in. And it's unfortunate, because it's you know, I feel like what I'm experiencing is a very small percentage of what some couples can experience. But it really takes two to tango, and I guess this is our stage of reconciliation with each other. I'm grateful that I actually have my ex who's also willing to meet me on the same page. But it all starts with forgiveness and acceptance. And, you know, it takes two to tango, but sometimes it takes one to initiate the dance. And I had to do that. And I'm glad that I did it, because we're in this spot. So how to forgive your ex? Well, what worked for me and what you need to do is either you write it down as if it's a letter, or I like journaling. Journaling really worked for me. Or if you can, if it doesn't feel awkward, talk to your ex and actually tell them that you forgive them. Have a discussion with them. I was actually able to talk to my ex and tell her that I forgave her, and it was just a life-changing conversation. Like, she broke down in tears and said, "I thought you hated me so much." And I said, "Yeah, I did hate you." And we had a laugh, but I told her, no, the reason why, it's because we didn't make the right choices. I also wasn't in the best place, and I was also, was not perfect either. But before I could even talk to her and tell her that I forgave her, I actually wrote it down in the journal, because I needed to just get all of those emotions out on paper and find my words, I guess, if you want to call it that. But as soon as I was able to write it down in my journal and see what I wanted to say, it just made it that much easier to have that conversation with her. So if you have a chance, write it down. You can even write it down as a letter format and not give it to her. This isn't necessarily for her. This is more for you to finally get this off your chest, get this burden off your chest, and finally make peace with the situation. And so, you know, that's what really worked for me. And if you do find that opportunity where you can tell your ex that you forgive them for everything that happened, you will be surprised at how that will change the dynamic in your relationship. It absolutely did for me. And also forgive yourself too. Journaling has also helped in that sense. And when I wrote down what I forgive myself for, in terms of I wasn't in the best mental shape, I wasn't in the best physical shape, I didn't make the right decisions, I didn't have the right experiences necessary to be able to see the red flags at the beginning, I had to read that daily for about a couple months before I could finally just accept that, yeah, I wasn't perfect. And yes, I did everything that I could to try to save my marriage, especially at the end, you know, booking the counselor, you know, choosing to keep trying even though she didn't want to. I just forgave myself, because at the end of the day, I exhausted all options. There's nothing more you can do. It takes two to tango, and I didn't have a dance partner anymore. But I was just grateful that I did everything that I had to do. So do that for yourself, journal it, read it, And this is one of those things that's just going to take time before it just clears this pain and angst towards the situation, because now you've relieved both parties from that whole situation, and you're now kind of putting closure to that chapter and opening up the doors for the new chapter to come in and more peace to come into your life. And when it comes to acceptance, the best way to demonstrate acceptance is just simply to take action. That's where my workout regime came into play. That's where hanging out with my friends, my family, spending time with myself, learning more about myself in this next chapter, doing the things that I like that I put on the back burner when I was married. That's the best way that you can choose to accept your current situation. And for a lot of people, what was most difficult for me to go through the acceptance phase, for me, it felt like accepting my situation felt like I'm giving up and that I'm losing out to the game, which in a lot of cases, like, accepting things that are out of your control, it's not about win or losing anymore. It's just recognizing, yeah, there's stuff that's out of your control. You can't win. There's no winning there. So take action. Do what you need to do to move your life forward. And the biggest catalyst of that for me was really going to the gym and starting to rebuild my body. It was great for my mental health, but also great to start seeing physical, tangible results that gave me confidence and momentum to now start moving other areas of my life forward. So I hope this video finds you at the right time. I know a lot of us are going through some very challenging times with our ex, but I hope that you can find it in your heart to forgive and also find the strength to accept, because if you can do both of those things, it'll completely change and redefine how you now live this next chapter, and that there are greener pastures on the other side, and that maybe it will help also improve the relationship that you have with your ex, especially for the benefit of your kids as they grow up and go into adulthood. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Peace out.